Hi, I'm Colleen Taylor. You're watching TechCrunch TV. Here with me in the studio is Robert Goldberg, who is the co-founder of Numitra, a company that's made the Bandu app, which is a watch and a software app that helps you track your stress levels and bring them down if need be. So, Robert, thank you for joining us.
Happy to join you. Thank you.
Is that a pretty good intro to what Numitra and Bondu is? It's kind of a big concept you've got.
Bondu is a way of life. So when you're getting stressed, Bondu alerts you to this fact through alerts that are already available on your phone and apps, whether it be music, games, even phone calls to someone you love. But you can also custom load messages. So you suggested have a beer time. That would appear right on the face of Bondu. And it's telling you, you know what, now's a good time to take a break.
Right. Great. And so, and we have the things here, and I want to get into it, but just can you tell me a bit about where this company and the concept came from, a little bit about your background?
Sure. I'm a neuroscientist by training. I was taking a neurotechnology course at MIT and met my co-founders. It was one of those things that as soon as we sat down, just all the ideas started to go off in terms of how by tracking something like stress on a daily basis, you can really not only improve your performance, but also improve your health and then overall happiness. So my co-founder had been thinking about the power of meditation in his own life. And we just started to think about all the fun things you could do if in those moments, you know, when everything's just sort of going crazy, you just take a step back and you realize the power is within you to sort of change things.
Now, see, I think what a lot of people, especially in Silicon Valley or the tech world, might say, I work better when I'm stressed.
Sure.
What would you say to that? Could they still use this, or what's your response to that?
I would say that's true for the short term, but over the long term, it's really going to hurt your productivity. We know stress on a neuroscientific basis. It affects your short-term memory. It affects your long-term memory. It affects your attention. So if you're trying to write code or write on deadline, the reality is over time it's going to become much more difficult to actually perform. So we just simply say, look, don't take 10 days off, but take 10 minutes off, right, in every hour. And then understand that then that next hour you put in, you're going to be that much more productive.
And how does the device actually track stress? I'm seeing some sensors here, or what is it actually tracking?
Yeah, so we're actually following a software development model. It's almost a minimal viable product, if you will, in this sense, right? So we start with skin conductance, temperature, and then motion or acceleration. And then we look to add all the features. So stress is the autonomic nervous system. I don't need to bore your audience, but the reality, this is perspiration, respiration, and then cardiac events, heart rate. So this is then the direction that we start to move in over the future. And with our early adopters, we're then able to build out and add features, as you can imagine. Same thing in software development. And
you're talking about early adopters. Can you tell me a bit about the funding or the people who are already now involved with the company? And I understand you have an Indiegogo campaign that just kicked off.
That's right.
Can you tell me about, you know, where you're at now and what the plans are?
Sure. So we had the opportunity to close on some seed funding with the founders of Yahoo and Boston Scientific. And when we saw this opportunity, we realized that those two companies really are our anchor points in our vision. We don't ever expect to be a directory for healthcare information, nor do we expect to be an implantable medical device. Our future is right in between those two things. You know, a daily platform that you can use and rely on to improve your overall life, but ultimately that's tied to bodily information. So that was a great opportunity for us. And then now as we build out, we start to add in all those features to make Bondu as useful as possible. The Indiegogo campaign, what we're aiming to do is bring on a limited edition of early adopters, people who can get really excited about the technology, but more importantly, want to improve their productivity and ultimately performance on a daily basis. Their data becomes very important as we start to understand much bigger problems. So ultimately, this is not just a consumer device for us. This is how do we solve stress across societies and around the world. But if you just want it to improve your overall performance and productivity, awesome. That's why we want you aboard. Give us your feedback and iterate early and often as best as we can in hardware.
So it sounds like this has sort of three facets to it, because you've got the device here that's picking it up, you've got the app that kind of tracks it, but then also on your server side, you're not just processing that data and throwing it away, you're keeping it, and maybe later it could be something that would be analyzed at a larger level?
Yeah, so we don't talk too much about our data efforts. These are challenging unto themselves, and so our goal is just to provide something to the consumer today that can be very useful to them in the moment.
Yeah.
But it is true, the more you wear Bondu, the smarter it gets. We train it through machine learning and pattern recognition techniques to better detect the stressful events in your life. And so it's helpful for you. There is a server component to that. It's necessary. That said, as the data sets grow, the opportunities become immense in terms of understanding how stress affects whole companies, whole cities, country, and then even the world. And so that's our long-term vision. So I'll be happy to dive into it and show you some of these things.
Cool, yeah, let's fire it up. How does it work?
So let's see how stressed I am being in studio here. So this is just some of my data, if you see it on the screen. And obviously we can chart those changes over time. There's nothing particularly exciting to what's happening right now, but you can be able to flip between, different time periods. This is when I had it on and didn't have it on. Not much is very changing. This is particularly exciting to us, as you can take the stress data from the watch, combine it with GPS coordinates from the phone, and now produce a stress map of your life.
Huh. Wow, so what is this all showing? So I see this is just, downtown, all these things. That's really interesting. So you were pretty stressed right here. Maybe you were sitting in traffic or something. What could that mean?
It really depends on your life, right?
Yeah.
And so you would then interpret that information for yourself.
Huh. And then what is the alert? You mentioned that if you get to a certain stress level, it can kind of tell you. What kind of advice would it give you? What tips would it be?
Sure. So what we do is we provide apps that are already on your phone to be able to plug in during those moments. So then it becomes up to you. Do you want to play a game? Do you want to listen to songs? Do you want to call a loved one? Or do you just want to drink a beer? And so that's really up to you at that point, and giving you the options of what sorts of things you want to turn on and off, what songs you would want to listen to. And of course, we're really excited to partner with other software developers through an SDK to be able to enable all sorts of apps with biofeedback type principles.
Right. So it really sounds almost like when you think of these things, I think these are the kind of things that a friend would tell me. If they notice that I'm getting stressed, it's like, Colleen, maybe you should just sit down, take a break, have a drink, like call a friend.
Got it. So it's up to you. Some people might want to just listen to music. And it's the sort of things that these are little moments in your day. It doesn't have to be, hey, let's blow off work and go have a drink.
Right.
It can be for the next 10 minutes, I'm just going to listen to some really good music. Just tune out, let my brain relax, and then I can dive back into it. And we've actually seen in my levels that angry birds, of all things, reduced my stress levels. So there's something funny about throwing birds at these angry little pigs that must be stress relieving, at least for me. Now, the question you asked about aggregate data, is it the case that Angry Birds is as successful as it's been because it's been broadly helpful to a number of people in terms of reducing stress? But we don't have the data to understand that, and what would it mean to then start to develop games specifically for that purpose.
So when you talk about some of these biometrics that it's tracking, some of those things like sweat or heart rate or any of these things, they can actually be signs that you're doing something that is relieving stress, like exercise?
Sure.
How does it differentiate?
So that's where we build in an accelerometer. We correct for the effects of motion. Okay. So when we start to see increasing stress, but that you're really moving and you're moving hard, that would be a good thing. And now you can imagine a very different type of song that you would want under those circumstances. So I was a wrestler in high school. I liked to listen to 9 Inch Nails. I would go onto the mat ready to conquer the world, and 9 Inch Nails helped to make that happen. So obviously in that case, 9 Inch Nails was a good thing.
Right.
State champion. And as we move into, you're in the office, things are very quiet. Probably 9 Inch Nails may not be the best for you as you're trying to accomplish your day's tasks.
Depending on the task.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, for the most part. Cool, and then how much does this cost? How much, if I didn't participate in the Indiegogo campaign, I want to just buy one of the devices?
So we're only releasing it through the Indiegogo campaign.
Okay.
It's not going to be available afterwards. These are bringing in early adopters for that purpose. We do look out to what the future could hold. If we get a tremendous reception, obviously we'll rethink this approach. But our goal is to bring in the earliest of early adopters, people who are really excited by technology and want to see how it can work and affect their lives. And then from there, we'll reevaluate. But our focus has been on these bigger questions, both in the enterprise and in clinical settings. And effectively, maybe we'll change our mind. But for now, this is a one-time deal.
And how do you think of the competitive landscape? Are there other apps out there or gadgets that are kind of doing a similar thing?
Not that we see. Our goal is to just stay true to our vision, stay true to who we are. But there are a lot of exciting companies, we think, that are in this space. And I think there's just tremendous opportunities to really add this level of data and insights into people on a daily basis. But Bondu's been designed to alert you in your most stressful moments. We need those alerts, just if only to take a 2-minute break, right? Just to get up, stretch, go outside, and then come back to work, right? Coding for 16 hours straight or writing, it's extremely challenging, especially, day after day, and not knowing when it's okay. It really is okay to take a break.
Right.
Yeah.
Great. Well, Rob,
Yeah.
thank you for coming by and showing us Bondu, and keep us posted going
Thank you.
forward.
Happy to. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.